Okay, so this is the video that I'm doing for the call for fire. Okay, and so the first thing off the bat that I want to address is the stuff they're going to give you. So they're going to give you your call sign, F0, FO36 is what we got in the example. That's Forward Observer 36. They're going to give you the artillery agency call sign, which is Archangel. They're going to give you a target description, which is 272s and the openless dismounts is what we got. They're going to give you the azimuth to target, and this is what you see in the binoculars, right? On the big projector screen, you're going to see the simulator. You're going to see them with binoculars, and that's if you were looking straight at the target from whatever your forward observation um, location is, right? So that's also using your compass, so that's going to be your magnetic mills, and that's very important because they're also going to give you a GM angle, and that's what you're going to use to get the grid. And they're also going to give you your grid location. So let's say the grid location is, doesn't matter, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So when you get there, the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find what your location is, right? So let's say you take that grid location and you find out it's right here, right? Your location's right here. Okay, great. Now remember, this azimuth right here is if you took a line from your location and looked straight at the target. It's not exactly straight, but look straight at the target. Now you want to find what that line that you're seeing, right, that's tracing the ground, going all the way to the target and beyond, right, is on the map. So you take that magnetic azimuth and you change it into a grid azimuth. So 5,300 plus 240 equals 5540. So you take out your protractor, you put it on the page, and you line it up with 5540, draw a line along that, and you know that this line that's going on the map is this line that you're seeing, this imaginary line, because it's going to be imaginary, but this line to the target, right? And now you have to figure out where that target is on this line. So this is where there's going to be some terrain association, and they'll make it easy on the test, right? So what we had was the target was on a road, so it was pretty easy, right? Because you look at your location and you look at that line that's going to the target and beyond, and you say, okay, well, where on that line is there a road? Okay, there's a road right here. This is the only place the target could be, right? But I've also seen it where there's a road, right, and then there's a mountain in the background, and the target is somewhere in between that and the mountain, right? So for this example, let's look at this line, right, and see, well, where does the target have to be? It has to be in between this road and the mountains. It's a little bit closer to the road, so let's say, I would say the target is right, let's see what that gives me, perfect. I would say the target is right here, right? Wonderful. That's how you get in a grid mission, that's how you get the grid for the target, is you're basically taking that line that you see to the target, putting it on the map. Okay, bam, target has to be along this line somewhere, and then you use terrain association to basically guesstimate where it is on that line. Then you take that guess, you find the grid location of it using, your protractor as usual, right? Just map work. It's just map work. And now you have the grid location of the target. So let's say that grid location is, grid location is 81920958. That's the one we had for the example, right? So now you can start filling out the first part of the call for fire. So everything here is basically what you're going to say. So you're going to say Archangel this is Forward Observer 36. adjust fire, and then because we're using grid, you don't have to say anything. That's what grid is standard means. It means it's default, right? So you're not going to say anything. If we were doing polar, you'd specify it's polar. But grid, you don't say anything, so don't circle anything here. And then for K, you want to circle that, because we are saying over. So ArchAngel, this is forward observer 36, adjust fire, over. And then you give the grid. So it's going to be 819.2.0958 over. Target description 2 T72s. You have to say what type of cover it is in, oh, sorry, you have to actually add the dismounts too. With dismounts in the open. You have to say in the open. And that's important because if you're not going to give them a shell fuse type, how are they going to know what shell and fuse to use? If they're in cover, they're going to use a different type of shell than if they're in the open. So you must remember to give in the open. Over. You might actually say out at this point, I'm not sure. But you have to mark the end of your transmission. And then they're going to give you a message to observer. Observer is you. They're going to say unit to fire, changes to CFF request, number of rounds, target number, whatever, right? Alright, so I was watching the video. I was completely wrong here. This is very important. It's not just the grid. You have to give them the actual grid identifier. So T, U, or whatever it is, I don't know what it will be, but Tango uniform 81920958, right? You have to put the letters, okay? Do not forget the 2 letters. Okay, so message to observer, right? So they give it to you, and on the radio you would repeat it back to them. So you would say message to observer, alpha, HEVT, in effect. So I/E. And then here, I don't know why the PowerPoint or the Excel file is messed up, but you would put 3 rounds. Target number, Alpha Echo 1001. And you would not put out. Again, this is a little bit messed up because of the Excel sheet. But you'd put break, so make sure to circle this. And then you put the direction. What's the direction? It's the grid azimuth that you got. So it's going to be the 5,300, your magnetic, plus that GM angle, 240. So it's going to be 5540. That's what you're going to put here, 5540, and then you're going to say out, because you're done. Now they're going to start firing, right? So you need to figure out your OT factor. If I went on the map, and I got my protractor, and I used the correct scale, and it said that between here and here is 3,200, right? Then my OT distance is going to be 3,200. 3,200, right? And if I divide that by 1,000, it's going to equal 3. So my OT factor is 3. Important thing to remember is just the rounding, right? So you want to round to the nearest 1,000 that starts with an even number if it's in the middle, right? If it's like 1,500 or 2,500. So if it's 1,500, you round to 2,000, right? If it's 2,500, you round to 2,000 again, right? Because 2,000 is that even, quote unquote, even 1,000 number. It doesn't really make any sense, but it's that even. It's that 1,000 number that starts with an even number. Okay, so just remember that. But I had my 3,200 meters, so my OT factor is 3, and I can start here with my OT distance as 3,200, and I can start with my OT factor of 3, right? Now, an important thing also to remember is the range corrections. So if you're between 0 and 1,000 meters, you correct by 100. If you're between 1,000 and 2,000, you correct by 200. If it's 2,000 and beyond, 400 meters, okay? And you don't stop making these range corrections until you actually bracket the target. And bracket means that you fired one shot and it was on one side of the target, and you fired another shot and it was on the other side of the target, right? So if my shot lands, let's say here, let's say there's no deviation, it's just perfectly in line with the target, but it's not at the correct range, right? Let's say it lands here. Okay, add 400. Add 400. Add 400. Add 400. Okay, now we start dividing that by 2. So drop 200. Let's say that's a little bit below it. Let's say add 100. That's a little bit above it. Let's say drop 50. Okay, bam, you're on target, right? But you keep on doing that add 400 or drop 400 if you were, way above, to actually bracket the target, okay? Wonderful. So let's say you actually move on to the target, right? Let's say that's the target right there, okay? And let's say you hear shot target number alpha echo 1001 out, and it's coming down right here, okay? 30, and it's under, okay? So you're going to go here, and you're going to see range, it's under, so you're going to put under. Deviation, it's to the left, and it's under 30, so you're just going to put 30. Wonderful. Okay, so now you're going to actually write what you're going to correct them with, okay? So it's to the left 30. You're going to take your OT factor, very important every single time, OT factor, remember to multiply, okay? And you're going to say right deviation times the OT factor, so 30 times 3, 90, okay? It was below, so you're going to tell them to add, and remember what we talked about, so 3,200, that's, more than 2,000, so you're going to add 400, okay? That's what you're going to use. Add 400, okay? Wonderful. So now you go here. This is important. Your OT distance, you said it was at 3,200, right? You just added 400. So now you have to put, there's an easier way to do this. There's an easier way to do this. Now you have to add 400. So 3,600, okay? OT distance, 3,600. Now if it's 3,600, your OT factor does not always stay the same. You just went from 3,200 to 3,600. What's your OT factor now? It's 4. And just for memory's sake, if this was 3,500, what would you round to? You'd round to 4,000, right? Because 4,000 starts with an even number, right? So if it's in the middle, you're going to go towards that quote-unquote even number, which is 4 versus 3. Okay, so OT factor is 4 now. So let's say we go back here. Wonderful. So we go back here, and for memory's sake, I'm going to say it lands below again, right? And now it's right here. Actually, let's make it a lot closer, just to emphasize the fact that you are still correcting the range until you get to a correction of less than 50. Does not matter if you think it's on target. Let's go right here, right? So you might say, oh, you know what, that's pretty much, the range is pretty much corrected. No, doesn't matter. Keep going. It's slightly under. Okay, wonderful. So you go here. You go here. You say, okay, it's slightly under, right? And the deviation, it's under 25. So you're going to write 25, and it's to the right. So you're going to do right. Okay, so then the correction you're going to give is left 25, and then again, it is important, because everyone forgot this, including me, your OT factor changes. So now it's not 3, it's 4. So what's 25 times 4? 100, right? 100. So left 100, and then you're still under, so you're still adding, and we have not bracketed the target yet. So that's what I wanted to emphasize. We haven't bracketed the target yet, so it's going to be 400, right? God, that's ugly. Would be 400. The fact that we only have 4 lines here means that it wants us to actually do it in 4 corrections. So, you know, fuck it. Let's just say it bracketed. Oh God, where's my eraser? Okay. But if it had been under, you would have done that. Okay. But let's say it actually bracketed. So it went above. Okay. So we're going to change this to above. So it was above. And so now you're going to drop 200. And that's because you bracketed. You went from one side to the other side of the target. Okay. So now, we dropped 200. You always go back to the OT's distance. We dropped 200. So now we went from 3,600 to 3,400. And what do we round 3,400 to? We round it to 3. Okay. Range. So, range. If, no, I did not want it there. Okay. If the next one is, let's say it goes over again, just to emphasize a point. Let's say it goes over again right here. Okay. The point I want to emphasize, we'll get to here, but I'm sure you can already see it coming. Let's say it was right there, so the range is over, right? It's above the target, and it is 20 to the left. Okay, so we're going to say right, and our OT factor changed again back to 3. So now it's 20 times 3 is 60. And we are going to drop because it was above. And I want to emphasize we did drop twice, right? But now, because we already bracketed it, now we're just in the zone. We're going down. We're having it each time. Doesn't matter. It's only when you haven't bracketed the target yet at all that you keep it at that original correction. But once you have bracketed it, it doesn't matter if you're on the same side of it again. You're going to keep on having it by 2. So it's 400, 200, now drop 100, okay? So now we go to our OT distance again. We just dropped 100, so now we're at 3,300, right? Our OT distance is 3 again this time. Wow, that's a really bad 3. 3, not much better. Okay, so then we go here, okay. So let's say that it is, boom, right here. Okay. So that is going to be to the left. Or actually, it's going to be under. Sorry. It's to the left. And it's at, I'd say 5. We'll just say 5. Okay. So, 3 times 5. That's 15. But remember, you can only make corrections of 30 or more. Okay? So, 3 times 5, that's 15. That's not enough. So we just won't make a correction. right? For the deviation. And then drop, or sorry, it was under, so we need to add 50. Now, if we've got the deviation correct, and we're at 50, then that means that next time we would have to make a correction of 25. We can't make a correction of less than 30. Okay? So this is the last correction we can make. Okay? Because our deviation, we've already figured that out. And this means range we figured out now too. Okay? So after this message, we can actually say fire for effect. And then you're going to go, I do this afterwards. You should not do this. You should do this after every line. But then I circle all of these, right? So fire for effect out. And then what's going to happen is boom, 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 right? They're going to go up in a big mushroom cloud of death. Okay. So they're dead, right? You see explosions, you see fire, whatever, right? So you're going to go back here to the rem statement. So it's very unlikely they're going to ask you to record as target. If they do, then you would give any corrections that you still have for them, and then you'd circle record as target. But more than likely not going to ask us to do that. So it's just going to be end of mission. You're going to say 2 T-72s with dismounts destroyed. You don't have to say in the open. Doesn't matter what cover they have now, they're dead. So 2 T-72 dismounts with dismounts destroyed. Estimated casualties. In general, you can probably assume tanks have 4 crew members, and then however many dismounts he counts. Let's just say 6, and then 6 plus 4 times 2. It's going to be 14. And then you're going to say out. And then also, I bolded these, but just to make sure you're getting the message, you have to circle these. You must circle these Ks. So what that rem statement would look like is end of mission. 2 T-72, 2 T-72s with dismounts destroyed. Estimated casualties 14 out. Wonderful. You just did a call for fire. Okay.